Elevation Nation, we have an incredibly special guest for you on the podcast today. If you've been listening, you know one of my goals for this year has been investing in myself. And that is a holistic investment in my mind, in my spirit, and in my body. I got introduced to this incredible gentleman from another elevator, Matt McPartlin, and his girlfriend, Kelsey. And now I share him as the best kept secret in Washington, D.C. to help you feel and perform at your best. We are joined by Scott Smith. He is the owner of Euphoria Wellness in Capitol Hill. He is also the founder of Rockstar Fitness. He also has nonprofits and more in the works. I don't know how we're going to fit all of his projects into one podcast, but we're sure going to try. Scott, welcome to Elevation Nation, brother. I'm so excited to have you here.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate being here. I've been looking forward to it for a while now, so can't wait.
Well, Scott, it's great to meet you. Sam has been hyping you up, which he does when he finds great people and he meets great people. He talks a lot about them to me. And then I obviously saw this on the calendar, so I was pumped for it. And Sam, you missed a big point. Scott went to Maryland? He's a Terp. Are you a Terp, Scott?
Oh yeah, definitely. Born and
Yeah,
bred.
that's the most important point right there that brings us all together. Scott, man, I'm pumped to get into it. We got a lot to talk about. Something that we start with on every podcast of Elevation Nation is we got to hear your elevator pitch. Tell us a little bit more about who you are.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, I'm a proud father. I have a 5-year-old son. Just had a birthday yesterday, so that's the role that I wear first and foremost. Um, Born and raised in Philadelphia, so high school, I came down to this area, the DMV, for college. Went to University of Maryland. Was a scholarship athlete there. Played all 4 years football. We had some good times there. We were ACC champs. We went to 3 bowl games when I was there. Won our conference twice, or actually 3 times. So it was really good times. After that, I went into my studies. Had a really interesting connection to health and wellness just because of my own personal story and journey of going through it, and just dove right into the ideal of health is wealth, and you really have to invest in your body to invest in your future. You can invest in so many other elements of life, but nothing else matters if you're not healthy and established at your core.
And Scott, I think I want to dive a little bit deeper into that story because I think it really catapulted you on this incredible journey. Like you said, you played football at University of Maryland, certainly a very physical sport. And we've had some conversations about some of the chronic pain that you kind of just accepted in your life for a while and tried so many different ways to get rid of it with modern medicine and really push you down the path of holistic healing. Can you talk to us about some of those moments that really were just excruciatingly painful for you and how you built something beautiful from that pain?
Absolutely. I mean, it started for me very, very early. I was 17 as a freshman in college, and I woke up one morning, first semester, and my legs didn't work. That's how I found out that there was a problem. Like I said, football player, scholarship athlete, practiced the day before, no warning signs, no issues. The next morning, I woke up and literally could not walk to the bathroom, couldn't put one foot in front of the other, and trying to explain that to my coaches, to my medical trainers, and them completely not believing me. Saying you look healthy, you're fine, you were good just yesterday. Having to advocate for myself at 17 was really, really hard and really, really tough, and put me on a path of really self-advocating and holistic medicine, and understanding that a lot of times you can't even depend on modern medicine and your doctors for help. You really have to take charge yourself. So that's really what got me started, is understanding my own pains and ailments. I didn't go to college for kinesiology. I didn't go with the understanding that this is something I was going to do. I was thrown into it because really my support systems failed me. My medical systems were telling me I was having back spasms when I knew better. There was a feeling that I had deep inside that told me that something wasn't right and to speak up. I remember they threatened me and told me that I wasn't going to be able to play in the games. And I'm like, do you not see me? I told you I couldn't walk this morning. I'm not going to be able to play in the game anyway, unfortunately. So it was definitely hard to endure, not being able to do normal things that a college student would be able to do. Everybody else is going out to party and you're laying on the floor, on a Friday night by yourself. So, it's tough. And it built the understanding and the endurance, to get better and not be a victim of my ailments, but to understand how to really get through them and, take my power back and reclaim, my life.
So you were 17 when this all first occurred?
Oh yeah, 17. It was a degenerative disc issue that started at 17 that gave me, almost the bone structure of a elderly person, someone that's in their senior years, 70s and 80s.
Wow. And so, I mean, you said how many years of football did you play though at the University of Maryland? You said
I did all five. I
many
had
more.
two. Yeah, I did all 5 years. I redshirted my freshman year, so played all 5 years. Ended up doing am I going to go professional route? Am I not? Even after having two back surgeries, and after it all, I just was really tired. I didn't want to fight the fight and keep on trying
Mm,
to prove that I was, good or good enough. I kept
mm,
on. That was one of the questions all the NFL scouts were asking. They're like, "You look good. All your numbers are good. You test well, but is your back good?" And I'm like, how many times do we have to have this conversation? So
yeah.
I didn't want to.
So
I
I
didn't want to do it.
so the reason I asked Sky is because you said you had one of your first understandings of your own body when you were 17 years old. You were, once practicing, woke up the next day. Next thing you know, your whole perspective has changed a little bit because I imagine you weren't ready for that. You're 17 years old. You play at a Division I university that has all the resources in the entire world. Obviously, a massive football program in our area, but the journey didn't stop there. Walk us through, as a 17-year-old, what were some of these decisions that you made so that you not only could convince yourself that you could get better, but actually get better and then convince others that you were ready to get back on the field?
Absolutely. I think, like I said, even prior to college, when I was 15 years old, I did bodybuilding. So I had a really good understanding of the body and how to train the body, muscle structure. Where I did bodybuilding was a really big gym in Philadelphia growing up. So we had professional bodybuilders that would come through all the time. I remember meeting Ronnie Coleman and his wife, huge bodybuilders from the 80s and 90s. His wife taught me how to bench press. So, I had a huge understanding of the body early on. And when I met all these ailments, it was always, don't sit down, don't lie down, continue to build up the body, which we continue to work on. So it became, if my back is weak, let me build up my front, let me build up my core, let me really work on my abdomen. That'll even me out. This was my thought process as a 17-year-old, we're going to fix the problem, we're going to work it out, surgery, recovery. We had a really good strength and conditioning program. My strength and conditioning coaches went on to Penn State. They were like Saquon Barkley's strength and conditioning coaches, so they were top notch. They went on to professional levels. So we had a really good understanding of, once again, how to build the body, how to structure the body, how to feel the body. So with all that going on, that was my, course of action. It wasn't a choice. It was, how do we get through? How do we move forward? How do we power on? Not accepting the fact that, you're a teenager with advanced stage degenerative bone disease.
And Scott, I mean, obviously, you're 17 years old, 18, 19, 20, even 22, 23. You're relying, I mean, I'm 30. You rely on the info from your doctors and the people around you to tell you what is best when it comes to your body, right? Like they're the professionals, they're the ones that went to school.
Yeah,
You're feeling all these ailments, all these pains. They're telling you surgeries. I know you had a couple, but the pain just kept on coming. What was that like when you were continuing to listen to people, but not getting better? I know that was not only hard on you physically, but also mentally.
absolutely. Very demoralizing. You kind of start to lose faith. Um, what happened was, I started to have to seek out holistic therapies because I just didn't seem to be getting better. After all the surgeries, the doctors would say that they would fix it, and I had, world-class surgeons. But still, at the end of the day, I wasn't performing at, peak. There would be times where, something as simple as a sneeze would throw out my back, and I couldn't understand it. And like I said, understanding through many, many years, I had my third back surgery at 40, and that was the most advanced back surgery. I went in and same thing. I'm working, I'm living, doing my businesses, and something just continued to not be right. I was like, my back shouldn't be this weak. I'm doing all these things. I'm building it up. I'm working out. It shouldn't be this much pain still. And I went to a chiropractor. I was doing holistic therapies, doing injections, I did 19 epidural shots. I did cryotherapy. I did acupuncture, dry needling, everything you could name, electromagnetic testing, shocking, everything you could think of. And nothing was really working, traction through chiropractor. So I used all my resources. A lot of these things aren't covered by insurance. So it just became a, year after year chase. And I felt like I was losing life because, not only was I not advancing, I was going backwards. And one day, my chiropractor suggested, you haven't had any work done or imaging done. I went in for imaging, and they told me that basically I was one step away from being paralyzed. That's how bad my back had gotten. They said if you have one slip and fall, or if you get in one car accident where somebody rear ends you, you're probably going to be paralyzed for life. And that was a huge wake up call because, I had just been struggling through, powering through, thinking I was making it, you know, take an Advil if I needed. Even though those things didn't really work for me, I didn't really depend on prescription pills, if you will, because they just didn't work. I got to a point of pain where there was nothing that was fixing it, numbing it, helping it. So once I found that information out, I had to do a full, complete reconstruction surgery on my back. And I thought that would be the fix. And 2.5 years later, I was still in desperation. I had worse pain than before the surgery. So it all went back to, how do I get past this? How do I rely on me? How do I, basically heal myself? Because all my doctors told me we can't do anything for you. We don't know what's wrong with you. You should be fixed.
It's fascinating to think that the doctors, the experts, and I respect the hell out of medical professionals, but if they read the textbook, right, that you have XYZ symptoms, they're going to make a calculated decision that the best course of action is X, Y, and Z course of action. And in this
Yeah.
case for you, Scott, it sounds like they said, okay, yeah, you have these symptoms, you've had these experiences with your own pain, and this is how we're going to go about doing it. And that they think that will fix you, when in reality, you came out the other side and you said that it did not help you get better, that you did not feel that the course of action that the experts told you to go and do, that like it didn't work. And so now you're sitting in a position that, were you hopeless? Were you thinking, man, like what is there left? Because the experts, the ones who've got years and years of education and credentials and certificates and practice, are now saying, or they did what they were, supposed to do, yet you're still in a place where you're not better.
Yeah, it got really, really hard. I started facing things that I'd never faced in life. I never really understood what anxiety looked like. Being fearful of going out, being fearful of, can I withstand making it a day? If I do this, or if the weather is a certain way, if I get on a long car ride, if I take an airplane more than a certain amount of hours, my life became really fragile. I actually had a curfew of 7:30. I was going to bed every night because I couldn't endure the day. I was so worn out and wiped out by the day that I was going to bed every night at 7:30. And I closed my shop at 7 p.m. So it doesn't leave much time. Half an hour, get home, right to bed, right past wife, right past baby. I don't have anything to say to anybody. I'm right to bed because that's how done that I was. So it became really hard. Like I said, just facing things and understanding things I never had to deal with. Like I said, being anxious of, can I walk? Can I stand? If I'm working, am I going to fall on somebody? These are real fears. Um, so it started to take over. Started to really, affect life. Thinking, will it always be like this?
Hmm.
Not being able to walk, not being able to exercise, the thing that I had depended on for years. It had become, I think, 13 years, 15 years that I hadn't been able to work out. So it was becoming a pattern of, I don't know if I'm going to get back to this. This might just be my life. Um,
So did you pick up books? Did you watch YouTube videos? Did you try to find a community that, might have some answers? Did you go find another doctor? Did you, sit in your bedroom and, say, I'm going to try to fix this and solve this problem myself? Like, walk us through the process. Okay.
yeah,
Now you understand that you are living with this anxiety, this fear, this pain. What are the decisions that you made to now go make an actionable change in your life?
absolutely. It was when all of my doctors told me there's nothing I could do for you anymore. We've treated you, we've given you as many injections as we've given you, we've done every treatment course that we can think of. The surgeon told me it's not my fault. I did the surgery correct. Uh, I was looking for therapies. Every doctor was telling me we don't treat men because it became a pelvic floor issue. They had basically sawed my spine in half doing the reconstruction surgery. And they don't tell you if they saw your spine in half, that does a big number on your front, on your pelvis, your pelvic floor. So I basically had the pelvic floor of a woman that, delivered a 20-pound baby. I couldn't do anything. And once I became that weak and that, dependent, where even if I tried to stretch, I would fall on the floor and have to lay there for the day. I got so weak, like I said, and so out of my normal life that I just said, I can't live like this anymore. It became almost a life and death type of decision. Is it going to be, are we going to continue down this path of desperation and uncertainty? And like I said, just not living a full life, or are we going to turn this around? I made the conscious decision, if I'm going to hurt and I'm going to wallow and I'm going to be in pain, it's going to be to my own doing. So I stopped going to the doctors. I stopped taking all the medicine. And I said, I'm just going to try it on my own and I'm going to work it out as to the best of my knowledge. And that meant not going to work. And instead of going to work, spending my days going to therapies and hot tubs and acupuncture appointments. I mean, every single day I would stack my day with different therapies with the hopes of, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to beat this. Doing 3-hour massage appointments, doing, sometimes twice a week, but every day was committed to getting better. Once I got even inkling that I was feeling better, I said, I'm going to go to the gym. I don't care if I can't do it. I haven't done it in 13 years. This is what I'm going to do. And that actually turned into, I'm going to do bodybuilding again. Uh, so I ended up feeling good enough to work out, and I worked out for 3 months and said, I'm going to do a bodybuilding competition because I haven't worked out in 13 years. I don't know if if I'll go backwards, but I'm only moving forward. So I ended up doing a bodybuilding contest in Philadelphia and placed and won in that, and ended up doing Mr. Universe 2 months later in Belgium. So I superseded and started to change my mind and say, you really preach this in your everyday work to other people, take it on to yourself. I can heal others, but I couldn't heal myself. And I wanted to flip that narrative and start to be able to, make real change for me instead of, working for everybody else, making everybody else feel good in the name of success or business building or whatever, and really focus on what I needed to live.
I mean, Scott, obviously I knew about your mindset, but it's so cool to hear it from you. And I want to move towards the positive solution. But there's one story that when I tell people about you in DC and how incredible you are at solving pain, I tell them this story. So I think you have to share it with Elevation Nation. You mentioned to me once during one of our sessions that the pain got so bad that you ended up having some issues with your teeth. Could you just tell that quick story? Because I think it really brings to life seriously how desperate and painful you were going through in these times.
Oh yeah, that was just one of the things, and one
I
of the
know,
many
I know.
things. The teeth thing, it was a real thing. I mean, I would. clenched my teeth from the pain so much every day that I actually cracked 2 or 3 teeth just from the PSI, just from the pressure of clenching my teeth all day, being at a 10 out of 10 pain every day. Dragging my leg around the city, having to walk, and just endure the. It came to a point where literally it was searing pain. It was almost like pass out pain a lot of times, and having to walk and, like I said, do the normal things I have to do for business and work and everything else. Yeah, I actually cracked 2 teeth. They broke off of eating something soft. I think one time I was eating a pretzel. The other time I was eating something even softer, and both
It's
teeth just cracked.
crazy.
Yeah.
Insane.
Oh,
Insane.
yeah.
And so looking ahead to now the positive side of things, I mean, I would have never guessed in a million years, Scott, until we started to become friends that you went through this. Because when you meet people, you greet them with an enormous smile and a hug and a hello, and you seem so at peace with your life now. So you obviously turned it around. I want to talk for a minute about the concept of holistic wellness, right? What actually ended up being, your path forward and what you help teach to clients. Being a male, being an athletic male, I think in 2000s, early 2000s, even 2010, holistic wellness, people were like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, you're some hippie weirdo. There's no way any of that works. How were you treated in your community, in the athletic community, in the Black community for leaning into this world? Was it very taboo for you at the time? Did you get any weird looks from people?
No, I mean, honestly, it's something that I felt like saved me. So I felt like it was something that I can pass on educationally to help save others. When traditional medicine failed me, holistic medicine is what saved me. Understanding these different therapies. I was doing acupuncture at 17. Hard, doing different things, doing whatever their freedoms are. I was spending time at the health center on campus, doing acupuncture, doing Tai Chi, doing anything that basically could save me. So, I think doing that early on is kind of what shaped me, for later years.
I know we don't have a lot of time, but I would love, Scott, if you could teach us a little bit holistic health or holistic wellness 101. Like, what are some of the practices that you're teaching to
Oh yeah.
your clients, and how are you having conversations with people about ways they can simply change their life through holistic wellness?
Absolutely. Our theory is looking at holistic wellness as whole, holistic as the whole piece of health, not focusing just on gym culture, fitness, but looking at the physical, looking at the mental, looking at the emotional and the spiritual as one whole balanced way of life. You can't be healthy in one facet of life, but not be healthy in a other. If you're not taking accountability, if you're suppressing, these are the things that we really speak to our clients about. It's not about just achieving or goal reaching or even an ideal of happiness. It's really about being whole and being healthy and concentrating on what that looks like, not even for self but for family. A big thing in we meet a lot of people that come in, and it's not just massage therapy. It's not just, oh, I have a sore knee, I have a sore back. They come in about connection and connectivity. I have a great job, everything is great, I'm making buku money, I have a great family, but I don't connect with my partner, I don't connect with my kids, I don't feel connected to my job. I make a lot of money, but I don't feel my purpose. And so what we do is we go in to their body to make sense of it. We actually go in through our work in a hands-on approach. We do it through what we call the body download, and also through our chakra realignment work. But we combine all that even in our regular work to find meaning in the body and release it. It's all about creating a state of peace and a state of release where you're not holding anything. You're not holding on. You're not holding on to your traumas. You're not holding on to problems. You're not holding on to stress. You're not holding on to work. You're not holding on to what's not going right or what was done wrong to you. We only focus on the positive. We only focus on you and freeing you, not being a prisoner to you. And that's really the work that we do. We do it in high stress volume where we work with homeless people, we work with highly addictive people, domestic violence people. That's part of our nonprofit work. But it doesn't matter if it's that or just the everyday regular person that works a 9 to 5. Our philosophy is most people are going through some sort of hardship, trauma, grief. There's an adversity that sometimes is buried within. And what we look to do is free all that, in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, and in your emotional state to give you a state of peace and freedom. That's what it's really all about.
I obviously love the approach that you take, Scott, and it's one of the reasons why I will continue to be your biggest advocate around
Thank you.
DC and try to bring you guys as many people as I can, because I think, I mean, Parker and I have talked about this at length, the concept of holistic health. Parker was actually the one, Scott, who told me to read the book Good Energy, which Parker,
Uh,
I just bought for Scott and dropped it off for him. So we're
Thank
passing
you.
along this knowledge of holistic wellness, what goes into your body, the data that you can collect from different wearables and technology, and how you can use that in science with I'll call it woo woo for lack of a better term, but a more spiritual approach as well. It can all work hand in hand together. And I think Euphoria is at the cutting edge, bringing that solution to the people of the DMV. And I'm just really excited that I get to be along for this journey. But Scott, that's one of, again, like I said, a dozen things you're working on. I know we're coming up at time, so I want to give you the opportunity. You mentioned the nonprofit. Can you just give us an overview of the portfolio of Scott Smith? What are the different things you're working on? A quick sentence or two on each of them, because I want people to see how busy you are, the vision that you have, and where they're going, so we can make some connections for you.
Absolutely. I mean, I think representing with this brand that's on my shirt, Rockstar, this has been the one that's been near and dear to me. This is my main brand that we're just launching present day. It's been 20 years in the making. This is our online platform that is social media and online fitness and wellness consulting. So it's a combination of really giving people a voice to be able to tell their story and share their journey, similar to me, that they've gone on in life. So I've kind of taken my pain and taken my story and turned it into purpose. I've become a tech entrepreneur over these years. And that's my biggest joy, is really seeing this project come to life. This is a culmination of me and my personal training journey, my massage therapy journey, my journey in opening Euphoria, just the culmination of understanding everything we talked about, what health and wellness really looks like in 2026. So, like I said, this is an online membership community, but it's free. It's freemium type of membership. It's also paid tiers, but like I said, at its heart, it's really video and content sharing for health and wellness enthusiasts, whether it's running, pregnant moms, people that are going through, diabetes, heart health. We bring everybody together in a holistic community where they can share, discuss, learn, teach, and that's my biggest joy. Really representing for Rockstar Global.tv. That is our website. That's our URL. We're just getting ready to launch, looking for new members. That's our biggest thing we have going.
Hell yeah. Well, love that you're always looking for ways to better the world. And it's rooted in, the problems that you faced growing up and that you face today, but it's all about helping others. And I know Sam has been down and worked with you a bunch and some of our other buddies, but I can't wait to get down to DC, meet you in person, Scott, and just stay connected, because I'm very inspired by your mission and everything that you're doing. We are going to go into our next section, rapid fire. We got some fast questions for you, and we want to hear what your fast answers are for us. So
Right.
I'm a UMD Terp guy, obviously. Sam knows. I've held season tickets for the football team for long, long time. I've seen the good,
Okay.
I've seen the bad, and
Ugh.
we have all the ugly right now. So, what's one memory you got for us from playing down in College Park?
Mm. Best memory is definitely winning the Peach Bowl, going down to Atlanta, Georgia, playing in the Georgia Dome against Tennessee Volunteers. They were big and bad. Everybody thought they were going to kick our butts, and they didn't want to play. They thought that they should have made a bigger bowl game. We went down there and I mean, we laced them. I think it was 33-6 or something like that. And we get back to the hotel. We're staying at the Marriott Marquise. Seemed like all of the state of Maryland was there to greet us when we got back to the hotel. So definitely highlight.
I
That's
love it.
awesome. That's
All
awesome.
right, next
And
rapid fire.
wait, little
Oh,
fun
sorry, Parker.
fact
You got more?
for you, Scott. Sam and I now work at the same company. We've been at the same company the last 7.5 years, and our
Wow.
first trip, we stayed in the Marriott Marquis.
Wow.
That's
Atlanta.
Fact.
Full
There you
circle,
go.
baby.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Atlanta.
Congratulations
Crazy.
on 7 years together and beyond.
We haven't beaten each other up yet, so it's a good sign. Good sign of partnership and friendship. Scott, obviously, you know the human body intimately, and holistic wellness is all about personalized wellness to you. So I'll caveat that with this question. Is there a favorite stretch that you love showing people that almost you're like, how did you not know this? This is the best stretch ever. This helps everything. Is there a go-to that you try to work into your clients?
Definitely. I like I'm really big on chest stretch, like doorway stretch,
Yeah.
because I think it's key for rotation, rotator cuff stretch and flexion and range of motion. So just doing this where you lean into a door constantly, both sides, up and down, just to, really engage your neck, your shoulders, just through every day. We're all here on our phones texting. You get a natural hunch. So just being able to keep your rotation tight at all times where you can go each direction, up, down, side with no problem. Even the way we sleep on our arms, which compromises that. So just continue to do that type of motion. Very common, affects a lot of people.
It's a good stretch. I have to fit in one quick story here. I'm sorry. First time I saw Scott, I was having some pretty bad hip and IT band and knee pain. And Scott, this is when I was like, this guy's legit. He pretty much just like moved my body around, pinpointed the exact areas I thought where I was having problems. He's like, no, man, this is coming from here, here, and here. The root, you're just feeling it here. We have to work on your lower abdomen. And I was like, what? I'm fine. What do you mean? Like, I got abs. I'm good. He's like, you're too tight there. And Scott, I don't mean to out you. How tall are you? How big are you, man?
6'4".
Tall guy.
Yeah.
So Scott's using his elbow, digging into my lower abs, trying to loosen them up. And I'll never forget, he looks at me, he's like, Sam, these are some of the tightest I've ever worked on. I think I need to use my knee, dude. We got to get some more weight into here. I was like, oh, shit. Scott was able to use his knee to get out the tension in my lower abdomen, and I didn't have hip pain after that. It was the craziest thing. But I will never forget when all 6'4" Scott was pushing into my lower body. I thought I was going to explode, but very much worth it and fixed the problem. So that's my favorite stretch that Scott does for me.
I think Elevation Nation, Sam is just trying to say to you all that he's got hard abs, which he doesn't.
No. We were through the abs.
Is
We were
that
like,
it?
we
Oh,
beat.
yeah.
Yeah, there's no shot.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we thought.
That
Okay.
was
Well,
way
Scott.
different than six pack.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Scott, we got one more question for you. We ask every single person who joins Elevation Nation what their mental motto is. And for those who do not know, a mental motto is a phrase, a quote, a slogan that you lead your life by. And so, Scott, wouldn't be Elevation Nation if we didn't hear what is your mental motto?
It's definitely the rock star motto. It's our slogan. It's our tagline. It's don't live average, live rock star. And what that translates to me is living every day to the fullest, not putting limitations on yourself, having freedom in your life, not being defined by anything, by titles, really just, having the confidence, the freedom to let go and be whoever it is that you are and understand that that's enough.
It's a beautiful mental motto. Scott, thank you for being a great mentor and friend in my life and impacting me positively, but more importantly, just spreading your love to the rest of the world through your nonprofit, through Euphoria, through Rockstar, through everything that you do. We are so excited and honored to finally welcome you into Elevation Nation, man, and just can't thank you enough for being here and sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. I appreciate it. Since the day we've met, you've been nothing but, 100% honest, genuine. I think that's one of the things, even looking at some of your prior podcasts, that really drew me in, is how you guys are just genuine. You don't hide your feelings. You don't hide your emotions. You tell it like it is. And I think you represent that each and every day. And Parker, he's told me that you're, the exact same way. That's the embodiment of your friendship. So I look forward to meeting you more and getting to know you as well and continuing this on.
I love it.
No doubt.
All right, Elevation Nation. Until next week, peace.
Thank you.